7:35. Our guest is on the telephone, and Mark, your last name Bauerlein? Am I pronouncing that correctly, sir?
It's Bauerlein.
Bauerlein. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Sure.
State of the American Mind. The book came in the mail about 3 weeks ago, and it was funny. My county judge was sitting here, and during the breaks, he was reading. He says, "Boy, I like what he's saying in Chapter 2, and I haven't even had a chance to look at it yet." So tell us about the State of the American Mind.
Well, it's a discussion of different aspects of American intelligence. How much do Americans know about U.S. history?
Yeah.
How much do they know about their government? How much do they know about what's going on inside the government? Do they follow current events? What are their habits? What do they like to read? Things like this. How are the institutions of learning doing? The high schools and universities. And we had social scientists weigh in, and academics and researchers and some journalists, and the news is not good.
I can believe that.
Well, every time that we give the national exams to 12th graders in U.S. history and civics, well, in U.S. history, more than half of them fail each time. In civics, they do a little better, but not by much. In college, we have all kinds of kids who leave high school with A grade point averages, and they go into college and they take diagnostic tests, and they end up having to take remedial courses in writing and in math. We looked at things about U.S. history. For example, one of our contributors talks about how important biblical knowledge and understanding was to the first settlers all the way through the founding, well into the 19th century. I mean, for instance, the most quoted book by political writers, not religious writers, by political writers, before, during, and after the founding was not Aristotle or John Locke or any political theorist. It was the book of Deuteronomy.
Really?
Oh, yeah, by far. And the Deuteronomy has the fullest expression of the Ten Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
For the colonists, the Pilgrims and Puritans, their model was Exodus. A persecuted people leaving a tyrant, crossing the waters to enter the wilderness and hope to create or reach the Promised Land. They would often call their colonies our American Israel. Now, the removal in the last 60, 70 years of the Bible and of any really religious understanding from the schools, the public schools, and from the public square, that's just a forced historical amnesia that is happening to the American people. So this is another problem that we find. We have Nicholas Eberstadt writing in about the rates of entitlements. People who are taking a check from the government for some form of income, poverty, or disability of some kind. 49% of Americans live in households taking that kind of check from the government. This is a huge expansion, and the problem with this is that it changes the relationship that our citizens have. I mean, the great American virtues going way back were self-reliance and entrepreneurship and becoming something, not being defined by birth or by poverty, but being able to rise and to create your own life. I mean, this was the model. But when you are in that position of dependency upon the government, you're going to change that self-reliant orientation toward an entitlement mentality. And so these are just some of the trends that we see happening in American life.
Wow. Why? I know the question I want to ask you, and I'm trying to figure out the proper wording.
Yeah.
Have we over-technologized our world to the point where we're so relying on technology for an answer to the question?
Well, that's certainly a problem. I mean, one of the things is the technologies are they're so seductive and tempting, and people can spend all their lives on it. I mean, I walk down the street, and half the people have their eyes focused on this little tiny screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they, in terms of intelligence, the problem is that what those screens mean is not the acquisition of knowledge and geography, and the internet provides all the known universe of knowledge. But that's not what it means to most Americans. It's social media.
Mm-hmm.
It means how many pictures of myself can I carry around with me in my front pocket? What can I tell my friends? I mean, young people run about 3,500 text messages a month on average.
3,500.
3,500. That's according to Nielsen Media ratings. That's where we are now.
On the average, it's more than 100 a day per month.
That's right. That's right. And young people also still run about 250 cell phone calls every month. They're still hitting about 3 hours of TV a day. And often the TV is just on all the time while they're doing their homework or while they're surfing the internet. So, what we see there is the technology wraps people in very much of a personal social bubble.
Yeah, it's almost an encapsulation of our intellect, I would think.
One person refers to it as the daily me.
Yeah.
Okay, I have all my text messages that I run. I've got the pictures. I run my Facebook page through there. I really make my life. I make it into a reflection of myself and of my life. And this is where one of our contributors, Jean Twenge, comes in with the rising narcissism among young people. I mean, after all, they have all these tools at their disposal to amplify who they are. Remember the original motto of YouTube? Broadcast yourself. That was what it was all about. The picture, half of all the pictures sent by young people through Instagram are selfies.
Yeah.
They're pictures of me. And of course of the food that they're just about to eat. That's a popular pastime.
I can't figure out the one where they take a picture of their feet when they're at the beach.
What is that? So, and this is reflected in belief. Gene finds that in the mid-'60s, when they would ask college students where they stand on academics, above average, average, below average, a little more than 1/3 called themselves above average. Now, 71% consider themselves above average in academic ability, which is, of course, statistically impossible by far.
Yeah.
And the colleges reflect this. I mean, in 1960, 15% of all the grades given were A's. Only 15% got A grades. C was the most popular grade. Today, 45% of college grades are A's.
How many?
It is 45%. It is the most common grade by far. Most kids leave high school who go to college have an A grade point average. So we've rewarded students. We've told them that they're great. We've built up their self-esteem over and over. So we shouldn't blame them for overestimating their abilities and being self-absorbed. We've reinforced that along the way. And employers these days are in a dither trying to figure out how to handle these young workers who simply have a different sense of responsibility and job commitment and work-life relationships. It's a different world for them.
No, Professor, let me ask you this. I was going through some of my sent files, and somebody sent me this video, And it was a gentleman with a television station that was walking down a sidewalk in a metropolitan area, and he saw some young men sitting on a porch, the house. And he walked up and asked a question. He said, "Gentlemen, I've got a question for you." He says, "The simple answer is all I'm looking for." He says, "If you're driving your car at 80 miles per hour, how far can you go in an hour?" And the camera was running for almost 7 minutes.
No.
And he says, "If you're driving 80 miles per hour, how far can you?" And they never could answer the question. Now, is this an example of what you're talking about in the book, The State of the American Mind?
I think there you have an example of people never having to figure things out for themselves.
There
they have calculators. They've got cell phones. The technology does it for them, and the brain is a muscle. If you don't use it, you're gonna get flabby. So this is well, teachers will tell you this. I mean, I a while back I told my students, I teach classes at the college level, and I told my sophomores to go to the library and look up an obituary on some famous author, and just write a paragraph of summary of what the obituary said for Mark Twain, say. And I said, but here's one thing, you guys, you can't use the internet.
There you go.
They looked at me with a look of shock, and their faces went all blank, and they were frozen. What do we do? And I
use a book.
Hey, you guys, you know that people did find these things before computers came along. but hey, this is the world they live in.
But is the computer age the dumbing down of America, if I can use that kind of slang, so to speak? Have we just made our you see these book, Computers for Dummies. Has the computer made us to the point where we're so reliant on it that we're getting lazy with our research? I mean, how many of your students, Professor? Go ahead.
I think this is definitely the case. And the advent of the computers, and it's not so much the computers themselves, it's what the computers mean to 15-year-olds.
Right.
I mean, the computers deliver all the universe of geography and politics and current events. You can go in there and you can look at newspapers from all over the world. You can look at art collections in the great museums from all over the world on the internet. But that's not what matters to 15-year-olds. What matters is what other 15-year-olds think. What are 15-year-olds listening to? You compare the amount of downloads on YouTube of a song by Lady Gaga to a song by a song by Mozart. Or George M. Cohan.
Sure.
These tools are intensely meaningful to them in a social way. It's something about 80% of young people sleep with the cell phones near their pillow in the on position. They want to be awakened if a hot picture comes through at 2 in the morning of their friends.
Yeah.
So it is the temptation again toward self-expression, peer pressure. Peer pressure is a huge factor in social media today, and if you ask high school guidance counselors and disciplinary counselors, more than half of the problems now that they deal with in school have to do with social media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People doing things on Facebook. You took a picture of a girl in a compromising position and you sent it out to 200 people.
And it goes viral.
There you go. So the whole school, I mean the things that can happen now because of social media, this is, it is definitely a dumbing down, and I'll mention one more statistic. In 2000, roughly half of all Americans read a newspaper the day before, or recently, print or digital.
Right.
We're down to about 23% now. Fewer and fewer Americans read the newspaper, watch intelligent TV news, listen to intelligent radio news anymore. it's becoming a minority, a strong minority, or I should say a small minority,
yeah,
that pays attention to what is going on. And this would have appalled Ben Franklin and Alexander Hamilton.
Professor, we're down to our last minute. I hate to cut it off so soon. Let's the State of the American Mind. Your final thoughts on this book, and you're the editor of this, the Emory professor, Mark Berlin. Did I say it? Berlin? Is that correct, sir?
Bauerlein.
I'm sorry. I'll get it right.
That's right. Well, here's the thing. It all sounds bad, and the news is bad, but we have to be optimistic because this is the United States. We're the longest-running government on Earth. We have survived dark times. We've had great leaders step forward when things were slipping. So this is our patriotism has good historical reasons, and that we can feel that things things have to get better.
Yes.
They have to.
Yeah. Emory Professor Mark Berlin and State of the American Mind. It's been a pleasure to have you on my program this morning, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Okay. Have a great 4th of July, too.
Okay, you do.
We'll be right back. 7:54, closing out the program with a few announcements here. New Life Assembly of God at 37 Elm Street in Calico Rock, Arkansas will be blessed by the Ministry of Southern Faith Singers Sunday evening, June 28th at 6 o'clock. There's no charge for this, but they're going to be taking a free will offering to help defray the expenses. Pastor Harry Hunter and the congregation of New Life Assembly of God in Calico Rock invite you to join them. Sure, it's going to be a happy place. Sunday evening is going to be a lot of fun down there with Southern Faith Singers. Let's take a quick look at some of the weather activity going on. You can tell summer is here. Okay, the red flag warnings are going up, and that's where there's dryness and lack of moisture. Southern California, of course, and southwest Arizona with heat, with red flag warnings. And make sure, extensive heat warnings there. We do have heat advisories in and around some of our listening areas, by computer and smartphone. St. Louis area, I've got some friends listening in St. Louis area. They're under a heat advisory. The Memphis area, Memphis to Jonesboro to northwest Mississippi under a heat advisory. Kansas City all the way to the Iowa line and back into Kansas, they're under a heat advisory as well there. And taking a look at the radar, my goodness, there's a lot of rain up in Iowa and Minnesota right now. That's still kind of a heavy, intense, I'm going to say storm. It's pretty intense right there. Moving more southeast than east right now, moving into Wisconsin, the entire western border, Wisconsin and Minnesota right now, and getting rain right now. Pretty heavy band. I don't see anything right now in Arkansas. All your highways are clear. And but keep in mind now, July 4th on a week from Saturday is on a Saturday, a week from the Saturday. Plan ahead for your travel. If you need the car service, give Minute Mechanic a call at 425-3135. And they'll get you in as quickly as possible, but plan ahead because they will be closed on July 3rd. We'll be back tomorrow. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you later.